Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vṛnda,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Sri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vṛnda ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Unfortunately, this doesn't tell me the verse number.
Yes, it's sideways.
How do you find out?
This is sideways. Yeah, and then it says on top.
Verse, so this is Antya Lila, chapter 1, verse 67. This is the verse we read yesterday. And then I want to read this because today's verse will make more sense. I think Radhika is going to bring more devotees. The Krishna known as Yadu-kumāra is Vāsudeva Kṛṣṇa. He is different from the Krishna who was the son of Nanda Mahārāja. Yadu-kumāra Kṛṣṇa manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathurā and Dvārakā. But Krishna, the son of Nanda Mahārāja, never at any time leaves Vṛndāvana. Now we're on 68. So Antya lila, chapter 1, text 68. After saying this, Mahaprabhu went to perform his noontime duties, leaving Srila Rupa Goswami somewhat surprised. Satyabhama ordered me to write 2 different dramas, Srila Rupa Goswami thought. Now I understand that this order has been confirmed by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Formerly I wrote the 2 dramas as one composition, Now I shall divide it and describe the incidents in two separate works. Who knows what those two works are? We'll find out. I shall write two separate invocations of good fortune and two different introductions. Let me think deeply about the matter and then describe two different sets of incidents. The two works are Vṛndāvana and Lalita Madhava. The Vṛndāvana describes pastimes in Vṛndāvana. And the Lalita Madhava describes pastimes in Dvāraka and Mathurā. During the Rath Yatra ceremony, Rupa Goswami saw Lord Jagannath. He also saw Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and chanting in front of the Rath. You imagine the dancing and chanting of Mahaprabhu? What that must have been like? I don't think we could imagine. But sometimes when I read these pastimes, then I think, how nice it would be to be there. And then I think, well, if we become Krishna conscious, we can go there and see Lord Chaitanya dancing and maybe dance with him. That would be amazing. I have already described all these incidents, but I still wish to add briefly something more. Thank you. Generally, Sri Chaitanya recited a verse while dancing and chanting before the Radha. But no one knew why he was reciting this particular verse. This is very interesting. The verse he was reciting. Only Swarup Damodar knew the purpose for which the Lord recited the verse. According to the Lord's attitude, he used to quote other verses to enable the Lord to relish mellow. So, Swarup Damodar, thank you. Swarup Damodar was Lord Chaitanya's secretary. And Lord Chaitanya wanted to relish Krishna consciousness. So Swarup Damodar would help him by quoting verses that would excite Lord Chaitanya's love in separation. So he understood Lord Chaitanya's mood. And so his seva, one of his sevas was to enhance the mood of Radha. Who is Swarup Damodar in Krishna Lila? Who knows? Lalita. Before I forget, we have Mahaprasadam from Bhaktivinoda, so we'll distribute that after class. What time do we have to break the Kadasi? Anybody know?
9:57.
Okay, so we're okay. Rupa Goswami, however, could understand the intention of the Lord, and thus he composed another verse that appealed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Rupa Goswami could understand Mahaprabhu's heart, and so he composed a verse that Lord Chaitanya liked, that represented that mood. So here is the verse that Lord Chaitanya recited during Rath Yatra. That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So, Rath Yatra is the mood of bringing Krishna back to Vṛndāvana. Yes? So he's saying, we're not in Vṛndāvana. We said yesterday or the day before how in Kurukshetra, the residents of Raja could not relate to Krishna, so they bring him back to Vṛndāvana, or they asked him to come to Vṛndāvana. So Rath Yatra, bringing Krishna back to Vṛndāvana. You could write a song, right? Please come back. Well, this is the song. I am also the same lover, yet my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. Nice song, huh? My dear friend, this is Rupa Goswami verse. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. So this is the story of Kurukshetra. I've met my very old dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would still like to go to the bank of the Jamuna, beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vṛndāvana. This verse is composed by Rupa Goswami. It is included in Padyavali, an anthology of verses he compiled. So, this is Rupa Goswami composing a verse in the mood of Radharani, understanding Radharani's mood, because Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari. So, Rupa Manjari is an intimate assistant of Radharani, so he knows. So, just, when we were on the boat, I was saying how fortunate you are. Remember? You have a... Nirmal, can you see if you can get a chair for Vṛndāvana Lila? If there is a chair. So, one of the ways that Lord Chaitanya blesses the devotees is that his associates come here. So these are Manjari's assistants to Radha, and they take the form of renunciates. And so, certainly they understand the mind of Radha. And Lord Chaitanya is now entering that mood, and so they can help him enter the mood of Radha. This is very elevated stuff, isn't it? You ready for it? I mean, it's right here. I'm just reading Prabhupada's books. Anyway, if you don't understand, then you understand you have a ways to go. And then you'll understand. That much, when we don't understand, that much we understand, is that we have a ways to go to understand. So, let's see what happens. After writing this verse on a palm leaf, Rupa Goswami put it somewhere in his thatched roof and went to bathe in the sea. So apparently he had a little hut in Puri where he was staying, somewhat near the sea, and he went to take bath. So he wrote the verse and just hung it on his thatched roof and went, because they would bathe morning, noon, and evening. So noontime, Brahmins should bathe 3 times a day. So they'd go and bathe in the ocean. And just put it, it's noontime, go bathe, chant Gayatri. At that time, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went there to meet him. And when he saw the leaf pushed into the roof and saw the verse, he began to read it. This is a wonderful story. And it relates to a lot of what we've been talking about on the morning walks about mercy. After reading the verse, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. At that very time, Rupa Goswami returned, having finished bathing in the sea. Seeing the Lord, Sri Rupa Goswami fell flat in the courtyard to offer obeisances. The Lord slapped him mildly in love and spoke as follows. My heart is very confidential. In other words, I don't reveal what's in my heart. How did you know my mind in this way? How did you know what I was thinking? Because I don't tell anybody. He firmly embraced Rupa Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took that verse and showed it to Swarup Damodar. Showed it to Swarup Damodar for him to examine. Then the Lord questioned him. He's speaking to Swarup Damodar. How could Rupa Goswami have understood my heart? The Lord asked. So, this is Lord Chaitanya is teaching something here. He's saying, this is nothing that I've revealed and Rupa Goswami understood. How could he understand something I haven't revealed? This is confidential, it's secret. Swarup Damodar replied, I can understand that you have already bestowed your causeless mercy on him. So, this is Swarup Damodar's answer. Say hello to the 10 million people watching. Look at this, keeps coming up. There's too much going on my phone. There's too many. Understand this meaning. I can therefore guess that previously you bestowed upon him your causeless mercy. That makes sense, right? In other words, unless he gives you mercy, it's impossible. Nobody could understand this because you haven't revealed it. Nobody knows what's in your heart unless you give them mercy to understand that. Which shows that by mercy we can understand things that otherwise are impossible to understand. Not only for us, but for other people. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, Rupa Goswami met me at Prayag. Knowing him to be a suitable person, I naturally bestowed my mercy upon him. So, I thereupon also bestowed upon him my transcendental potency. Now you should also give him instructions. In particular, instruct him in transcendental knowledge. Swarup Damodar said, as soon as I saw the unique composition of this verse, I could immediately understand that you had bestowed upon him your special mercy. Like sometimes you see a devotee, at least I have this experience with some of my godbrothers, they'll give class and they'll say something amazing, like, one line here, one line there, completely amazing, and I'll think, how did they understand that? Just like it's not in any book. Like we all read the same book, and then he's speaking this and I'm speaking that. It's like, where did this come from? So then we understand that one who has mercy can understand something that others can't. So when a devotee shares a realization that's very deep, or maybe has a very ingenious plan for preaching or does some amazing service, then you can see, oh, definitely they've got mercy, Prabhupada's mercy. Otherwise, how could they do this? Right? And Prabhupada makes that point. Because Krishna consciousness is not material, so it's not material potency that spreads it. Krishna Shakti, Vina Nai Tara Pravartana. It's Krishna Shakti. So when someone has mercy, they can share Krishna consciousness. It's not you need organization, of course. But that's a structure so the mercy can go out to more people more quickly. But if you just have a structure and no mercy, then, it's like a plate. It's a nice plate, but there's nothing on it. So the real thing is the mercy. The real thing is the prasadam, not the plate. Right? So better no plate and prasadam than nice plate, no prasadam.
Better good plate and good prasadam.
Better good plate, good prasadam, yeah. As soon as I saw the unique composition of this verse, I could immediately understand that you had bestowed mercy. You had bestowed upon him your special mercy. By seeing a result, one can understand the cause of that result. This is a verse from the doctrines of Nyaya, or logic. Right? Like, if Anuradha is very blissful, very, very inspired, then we think, who's she associating with? What's she doing? Something is causing that. So you understand the effect. If there's an effect, there's a cause. So we saw the effect in Rupa Goswami that he wrote this verse so we can understand the cause. Mercy. The river Ganges, flowing in the heavenly planets, is full of golden lotus flowers, and we, the residents of those planets, eat the stems of the flowers. Thus we are very beautiful, more so than the inhabitants of any other planet. This is due to the law of cause and effect. For if one eats food in the mode of goodness, the mode of goodness increases the beauty of his body. So he's talking about this cause and effect now of getting mercy and seeing the result. One's bodily luster and beauty, one's constitution, one's activities, and one's qualities all depend on the law of cause and effect. There are three qualities in material nature as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Karanam guna sangasya sadasat yoni janmashu. One takes birth in a good or bad family according to his previous association with the qualities of material nature. Therefore, one seriously eager to achieve transcendental perfection, Krishna consciousness, must eat Krishna prasadam. Such food is sattvika, or in the material quality of goodness, but when offered to Krishna, it becomes transcendental. Our Krishna consciousness movement distributes Krishna prasadam, and those who eat such transcendental food are sure to become devotees of the Lord. This is a very scientific method, as stated in this verse from Nala Naisadha. Karyam nidhanad di gunan adite. If in all his activities a person strictly adheres to the mode of goodness, he will certainly develop his dormant rajasa tamasabritaha prajaste bhakshayishanti mlecha rajan yarupinaha. Such leaders have no chance to purify their eating. Politicians meet together and exchange good wishes by drinking liquor, which is so polluted and sinful that naturally drunkards and meat-eaters develop a degraded mentality in the mode of ignorance. I heard once that the greatest number of alcoholics live in Washington, D.C., which is the capital of America.
Why? Because they're frustrated?
I don't know. The process of eating in different modes are explained. The processes of eating in different modes are explained in the Bhagavad Gita, wherein it is stated that those who eat rice, wheat, vegetables, milk products, fruit, and sugar are situated in the elevated quality of goodness. Therefore, if we want a happy and tranquil political situation, we must select leaders who eat Krishna prasadam. Otherwise, the leaders will eat meat and drink wine, and thus they will be asamskritaha, unreformed, and kriya-hinaha, devoid of spiritual behavior. In other words, they will be malechas and yavanas, or men who are unclean in their habits. Through taxation, such men exploit the citizens as much as possible, and in this way, they devour the citizens of the state instead of benefiting them. We therefore cannot expect a government to be efficient if it is headed by such unclean malechas and yavanas. Hare Krishna. It's interesting how the verse is following a sequence describing cause and effect. An example is on the heavenly planet, they eat a kind of lotus flower that's golden, and they become very healthy. But if you go to the previous verse, it was talking about the effect of mercy. Right? You can see. So then the example is given. Just like if you eat healthy, you'll be healthy. If you get Krishna's mercy, you'll be healthy spiritually. And then Prabhupada in the purport decides to focus on prasadam and how people can become devotees by eating prasadam, and how the political situation can change if people eat prasadam. And one of the conclusions of this verse is, don't vote for anyone who doesn't eat prasadam. And I was thinking, when I was reading this, that maybe, in some country you could do a prasadam catering business to parliament or Congress like that. And they're all eating prasadam, maybe things would change. Something to think about.
In Poland, they have for a few years an action giving prasadam to the politics.
Mm-hmm. Something we can meditate on. Well, let's go back to the other verses and talk a little bit about mercy. What we're seeing in this verse is that what is possible for us comes in two levels, material and spiritual. So we're all aware of our material limitations because we deal with them every day. You can only run or walk so fast, sleep so many hours. You have an IQ of something, whatever that is. And you have certain abilities and disabilities. And so we know what we have. Some of you can play an instrument, some of you can do accounting, some of you are good at language, and so forth. And so the point of this verse is that when you get Krishna's mercy, then what's possible for you is different, and it can transcend those limitations. Maybe not in every sense, but particularly in the sense of achieving a spiritual position which you may feel is impossible, or maybe you feel you're unqualified to achieve. And so we understand that there's two ways to feel unqualified. One way empowers and one way disempowers. So we're definitely all unqualified. But because we're unqualified, it actually puts us in the proper position to get the mercy. Because when you feel unqualified, you feel that you need it more. And so you ask for it, you beg for it, you try to get it, because you know if you don't, you can't be successful. Like I can't, let's say I was born in a Vaishnava family of 10 generations of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So then I might think I have some qualification. I have good background. I was doing kirtan when I was like 6 months old. I learned the Bhagavad Gita when I was 10. I learned Bhagavatam when I was 15. They might think, okay, I have some qualification. But I think for all of us here, or most of us, that didn't happen. Far from that happening. It was pretty much the opposite. And now we're reading about the mood of Lord Chaitanya, and we're thinking, what samskara, what action have I done in the past that would even qualify me to understand anything about this? And we sit here kind of depressed, thinking, will I ever understand this? Because I don't have a qualification. My samskaras do not allow me to understand something this deep, right? Our samskaras help us maybe materially. We can do things materially. So the point is that thinking that way is not bad. In fact, it can be very good, because we all want to be pure devotees, and by background, it's hopeless. There's not even a question, because you can't redo the past, it's done. In my past, in this life, so many simple activities, and so few, if any, pious activities. At the same time, we want to understand Lord Chaitanya's mood, so you have this paradox. I'm not qualified, but I want to understand it. And that actually becomes a qualification. And so it's kind of strange that you would want something that you're not qualified for. Isn't it? But that's actually what is happening to us. Like Lord Chaitanya said, I'll give it to you. I'll give you love if you do certain things. And we're thinking, this is very, very high. I really don't think I can get it. I don't think I can understand a lot of these things. You ever study something and you can't understand it? It's too, it's in another world. And you think, will I ever understand this? And from the material perspective, the answer is materially, no. If you don't have those samskars, if you weren't raised that way, how would you understand? So then we have this paradox. I'm completely unqualified to understand, but somehow or other it's being given to me, like here it is. Well, but I can't digest that. Well, we'll take these pills, they'll help you digest it. It's something like that. Okay, it's being handed to me, I want to understand it. And so the fact that it's being handed to us must mean that we can understand it, that there'll be the digestive pills going with it, so we can digest it. And those digestive pills are the mercy. Prabhu, I get deep fried in ghee, 6 times in ghee and sour cream, I can't digest it. If I squeeze the eggplant, it just ghee, I can fill a cup of ghee, I can't digest it. No, take these pills. These pills are amazing. You could digest stones if you take these pills. So that's our situation. So on one hand, I can't understand. Other hand, I have the digestive pills, now I can understand. So the mercy will allow us to understand, and therefore we can have the desire even though we're not qualified. So I show that prasadam to you and your appetite starts burning, right? But you're looking at it and thinking, I can't digest it, but the appetite is there. So it's a contradiction, isn't it? You want to eat something you can't digest. So Mahaprabhu says, here, prema. And we're looking at it and thinking, I'm just a malecha. A few years ago, I was doing horrible things. And Mahaprabhu said, no, here, I want you to experience this. And so the thinking that I'm not qualified, but I want to, and I know it's possible by mercy, therefore I'm asking for mercy, that's the formula. And Mahaprabhu wants to give it to you, like we were saying this morning on the walk. For those of you fortunate enough to come with us today. We were going to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house, and on the way I was saying, he wants to give us mercy. So the problem is not from that side. The problem is, the transmitter is strong. The problem is weak receiver. It's like powerful transmission, but my radio isn't very good. So that's where the problem lies. So they want to give it, and so we just have to learn how to receive it. So it's nice to understand it that way. Like the mercy is there. You just have to know the combination. And in that way, we can seemingly foolishly try to grab the mercy. Ask for it, beg, somehow get it. Knowing that if I get it, then I could understand all these things, I could serve in amazing ways, I could be elevated in amazing ways that ordinarily would be impossible at any other time in history, in any other age. So we should have that understanding and faith because it's true. Right? So it doesn't matter if you're unqualified. It only matters if you resist the mercy. That's where your problem will be. Your qualification is not a problem. It's resisting the mercy that's the problem. I don't deserve it. Yeah, okay. You don't deserve it, but that's not the transmitter's working. I don't deserve it. Okay, but the transmitter's transmitting. So whether you deserve it or not, the transmitter is transmitting. So all you have to do is dial in. Right? That's the idea. Does that make sense? Sometimes we limit ourselves because we have experience of our limitations. But we shouldn't limit the mercy. So you might say, maybe by Krishna's mercy you're not going to become Albert Einstein. That's not necessarily going to happen, although you could do something very intelligent or very amazing by Krishna's mercy. But specifically what I'm speaking about here is your spiritual advancement. The restriction is not from the transmitter, it's always strong. The restriction is only on our side. So the more we can be open to the mercy, break down resistances to get it, then we can understand these things like Rupa Goswami did. Isn't that amazing? And what's really interesting? If you think about this in the context of Prabhupada coming to the West, because generally at that time in India, even in Gaudiya Math, they would look at Westerners as useless, it's impossible for them to become Vaishnavas. Like that's why, I'll tell you a story. Well, Bhaktisiddhanta sent some devotees to England. They went to England and Germany. They didn't do very much. Basically, very, very little, nothing significant. Nothing to write home about, as we say in America. What's happening? And the expression is nothing to write home about means nothing exciting. No exciting news. So what they did was not exciting, And in fact, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was giving money to them every month. But not much was happening, so he called them back. Like, why spend the money if nothing's happening? A few people interested, they met a few people within government or royal family like that. I think they established a little center. And when they came back, one of the things they said, you can't make Western people Krishna conscious. That was what they thought, because they couldn't figure out how to do it. And it appears that idea kind of pervaded the Gaudiya Math. Because otherwise, why wouldn't... That was 29 or 30 or 31. Why wouldn't anybody else go? They were the only ones. So after that time, nobody went. So you could think there may be many reasons, but it seems this is definitely one of the main reasons. They just thought Westerners can't take it. So now, Prabhupada decides to go on the order of his guru, 30 years later, or 35 years later. So what we're talking about now, we can assume Prabhupada had that kind of faith, that Mahaprabhu's mercy is so powerful, you could take it to America, the most materialistic country in the world, and that mercy could make people devotees. And of course that's what happened. And I don't know if you know the story, but when Prabhupada came back with American Vaishnavas, then a lot of his godbrothers, or some, especially Smarta Brahmins, but even some devotees, did not accept us as devotees. You can't be a devotee if you've eaten meat and so forth. And so he invited one godbrother to the temple, and then they offered him prasadam, and he wouldn't eat it because he felt we were malechas, and he didn't want to eat the prasadam of the malechas. But later, in Prabhupada's last days, when he visited, he did take prasadam because he saw that we were actually devotees. So even though he was from a Brahmin family and he doubted it in the beginning, that we could be devotees, 6 years later, seeing what ISKCON did and getting to know the devotees and establishing deities and so forth, he accepted their Vaishnavas. So that means Prabhupada all along knew, where it took convincing for some of his godbrothers, maybe not all, but some of them, to acknowledge that the mercy is powerful enough that even we could become Brahmins and Vaishnavas. So every day we get up and chant is proof of this mercy, isn't it? Otherwise, we couldn't do it. So if you feel unqualified, it's true. It's not, you have to be depressed about it, it's just a fact. And you're not the only unqualified one. Just look around. Anyone born in a Vaishnava family? Raise your hand. You might have a few vegetarians, we'll see. Anyone vegetarian from birth? Raise your hand. Wow. Okay, now we're going to get serious. Anyone never taken drugs or alcohol? Raise your hand. 2, 3. So, how many do we have here? 40 devotees? Yeah. So, the truth is out. The word malecha or yavana is used to describe someone who eats meat, or someone who is below Shudra, not even within the Varnashram system. They're outside of it, considered uncivilized. If you're within Varnashram, you're considered civilized and human. If you're outside Varnashram, you're considered subhuman. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to welcome you to the human species. Before you were a devotee, you were kind of on the verge. But, if you're looking at things from a more strict Vedic perspective, that's the perspective that, two-legged animals, sometimes those words are used, but because they're not within a varnashram system, they're not following the religious principles, then they're considered mlecha or yavana. And now, for the first time in history, mlechas and yavanas are Vaishnavas, not only Vaishnavas, but they're the ones spreading Vaishnavism all over the world. Not the one born, not those born, very few of those born Vaishnavas, born in Brahmin families, are doing that work. And when Prabhupada came, only we were doing that work. Now others are doing it. Not a lot, but some. But in the 70s, or even 80s, it was only us doing the work. So isn't that amazing? That it's kind of like, you want to start let's say a football team, but you don't have money, so you go to Africa and you find some kids, abandoned by their parents, just playing in garbage and stuff. You get them and you train them, and they become a world-class football team. So that's what Prabhupada did. Ever see like that happen? Some magnanimous person will go to a village in Africa and he'll teach the kids, and they become quite good. And that's what Prabhupada did. So it's nice to see things in context. Look, we have a Brahmin here, Vaishnava Seva. He has so many deities: Shalagram, Giriraj, Krishna Balaram. So, And then Prabhupada, he had to fight many people in India who didn't believe this. And he had to quote Shastra in so many places over and over again that people born in Mlechas and Vaishnavas, if they take the Krishna consciousness, become the highest. So he defended us. Prabhupada had to defend us. He had to defend us, and he had to defend what he was doing because people questioned it or disagreed with it. But Prabhupada said, look at the result. We have so many devotees and they're spreading Krishna consciousness. Then he allowed women to live in temples. That was never done. Women, are supposed to stay home and take care of kids. And here, take the books, go on the street, go approach the men. That was never done before. So Prabhupada saw the higher principle, and he was very, very happy. When Prabhupada gave me my Brahman thread, you can see, if you watch the videos following Srila Prabhupada, in 1970 in August, Los Angeles, if you see that video, you'll see a young man with big muscles.
That's you.
Well, I used to surf, so if you surf, I still have some muscles. But then I actually had hair, believe it or not, and a sika. And you'll see this young man getting his Brahman initiation, and it shows Prabhupada putting the thread on his shoulder. So the thread goes here. So Prabhupada was putting it on me like this, but it fell on this shoulder. So you'll see him, Prabhupada, touching this shoulder. Sometimes in the workshops we embrace, and I say, this shoulder is prasadam. Because Prabhupada touched this. So you can put your head on my shoulder. Here. That's for the men. That wasn't an open invitation. Although now they're thinking, I'll just accidentally knock into this right shoulder. Probably, I think there's a bug on your right shoulder. So I was asked to speak about that. And then my impression was that Prabhupada was smiling, giving me my Brahman thread, giving me my Gayatri mantra, and he's putting on the thread, he was smiling. And I was thinking, Prabhupada was so happy because he had come to create Brahmins and devotees, and it was actually happening. So it was like every Brahmin initiation, it was this confirmation of the whole philosophy that anyone can be a devotee, and these are the devotees who are going to make other devotees, and the mission is going to spread all over the world, and with each Brahmin, it's one Brahmin closer to making the world Krishna conscious. That's how I felt when he gave me the thread. It's like, here's another one. Another general in the army is going to go out and shoot mine. So, he wasn't smiling. I never thought he was smiling because he liked me or thought I was, something special. But I just thought that here's another Brahmin. The movement is increasing. And right around the time that I got initiated, it was kind of a pivotal point, because in the next year or two, it shot really quickly. So it was kind of, my sense was, it was just, Prabhupada was so happy, like, this is the philosophy, we're seeing it happen, it's working, it's expanding. And then there's one morning walk, and it was so interesting. So the devotee said, oh, Prabhupada, in that, I think they were quoting the Vṛndāvana Mahatma. I said, oh, Prabhupada, we were reading, it says that there's this person who's going to come and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And Prabhupada said, I think they're talking about me? Like very humbly. So, we see in Prabhupada's books that when it started spreading, he understood that this prediction was now happening for the first time. There's a certain point in his book, especially Caitanya Caritamrita, where he's just writing, Lord Chaitanya's prediction, it's happening, it'll spread all over the world like that. Where early in the beginning, that wasn't clear. So, it might have been philosophically clear in Prabhupada's mind, but to actually see it happening, that's proof of what we're reading. So all of you, my dear boys and girls, all of you will have to become spiritual masters. Prabhupada said, shocking. Like a hurricane and you're against the wall, and I can't escape, can I run out the door? He said, me become spiritual master? How is that possible? Wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. That's how it happens. So, if you have Krishna's mercy, you can give Krishna's mercy to others. And then when you give Krishna's mercy to another person, you see the same thing happening to them. They're coming from this background. They're coming from this background just like we were. And they're starting to chant. And things are changing. And have you ever noticed this? You're bringing someone to Krishna consciousness, and finally on one day they chant 16 rounds. And they're like completely blissful. How was it? Oh, it was amazing. My whole life's changed. You get that, you see this when they get to 16 rounds. It's like they made it and they fall into Krishna. They climb the fence out of Maya and they fall into Krishna. I've seen that many, many times. When a person starts to chant 16 rounds, it huge changes. So, we're witnessing the mercy. So the point here is, don't limit how Krishna conscious you can become, because you're not doing the work. The mercy's doing the work, and you're just putting yourself in a situation where you can access the mercy, not resist it, utilize it. And then the mercy will do everything. Not you. Oh, I could never be Krishna conscious. Oh, I could never chant good rounds. Oh, I could never this, I could never this. We had made a joke, Ananta Bhat, unlimited Bhat, so Ananta never. What's the Sanskrit for never? Anybody know? What's the word for never in Sanskrit?
Should ask Krishna Kshetra,
I may also.
Is it not?
Na, it could be. All right, well, na means no. No, never. Who knows? Can we look? Someone look it up? You have folio? Database? Word meanings? Anyway, Ananta never. We'll find the Sanskrit. I could never, never. Oh, if you say I could, I could never. Yeah, that's true. But by mercy, the mercy could do what you could never do. That's the idea. So that's how we're supposed to think. Okay, I could never do this, but the mercy could. Right? We can't limit the mercy because it's not ours. It's another energy. It's coming to us. So if we're not resistant to the mercy, if we know how to get it, through Sangha, through hearing and chanting, here in Mayapur, visiting holy places, asking for mercy. Do all kinds of miracles can happen. Yes? You agree? And in fact, it's nice to be in that mood, like I'm waiting for a miracle, because I need one. I'm waiting for a miracle. Yeah. That's a song?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Any questions? Yes.
How are we resisting the mercy?
Well, it'll be different for everyone. One resistance could be, I don't think I deserve the mercy. Or why would Krishna want to give me the mercy? Like the person that says, I never win anything. Like someone's buying a lottery ticket and the person next to him says, oh, I'm not going to buy one. Why not? Oh, I never win anything. So it's like, oh, she got the mercy, she got the mercy, he got the mercy, he got. But me, no, I'll never get the mercy. So that's a kind of resistance. There was a song when I was young. It's called "Born Under a Bad Sign." Born under bad stars. And one of the lines from the song, if I have any luck, the only luck I have is bad luck. Anybody know that song? That's like an old song. What's the line? You remember? Bad luck is the only luck I have. It's a blues song, right? Born under a bad sign. So that kind of mentality. Oh, they'll all be Krishna conscious, but me, only luck I have is bad luck. A fear, if I get the mercy, what it'll do to my life. It might be too Krishna conscious, too fast, too soon. What it requires to be in the mood, to pray for the mercy, to be a receptacle, that might be difficult to have that mood. I know I should want the mercy, I know I should beg for it, but I'm happy materially, I don't care that much. It might be callous. Callous means I don't really care.
If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all.
If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. And what's the other? Let's bring back memories here.
How to overcome this fear of being too quickly, too Krishna conscious?
Yeah, I have to read the song first.
Yes.
You know the melody? You remember? This is an old song,
You can
right?
check on YouTube.
It's probably like 64 or something, 65. Krishna Kṛṣṇa will send it to all of you. Born under a bad sign, been down since I began to crawl. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. Hard luck and trouble is my only friend. I've been on my own ever since I was 10. Born under a bad sign, been down since I began to crawl. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. Who can relate to this? I can't read, haven't learned to write. My whole life has been one big fight. Born under a bad sign, been down since I began to crawl. If it wasn't for bad luck, I said I wouldn't have no luck at all. That ain't no lie. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. Now, this is so funny because there's a verse by Rupa Goswami, of course he doesn't say it like this, but he's saying the same thing. I didn't do anything good, wasn't born in a good family, I didn't do anything pious, I'm not smart. He goes down the list. And he says, but I have faith in your mercy. Right? So this could be a reason. And Krishna Kṛṣṇa is saying, how do we get over the fear of being afraid that we'll be on the fast track back to Godhead. How do we get over the fear? Well, one of the general ways you get over fear is by doing what you're afraid of. You know, how do you get over the fear of being on stage in front of 500 people? By being on stage in front of 500 people. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then the next day you're like, well, I hope 1,000 people come tomorrow. So the interesting thing about fear is we're afraid of doing things often that we've never done. So there's no way to validate that you should be. Like if I, did mountain climbing and I fell down a mountain, yeah, now I have a valid reason to be afraid to do it. But if I've never done it and I'm afraid, it's an irrational fear because it's not based on experience. So therefore, sometimes you just have to do it and get the experience. The other thing is something that I studied, which I found quite interesting, that many, many, many very successful people that seem very confident have the same fears that everyone else has. But somehow they've mastered the ability to act in spite of the fear. So he's speaking to 5,000 people. He's really nervous before, and it takes a while. But he's emotionally controlled enough that he won't let the fear disable him. But like we were saying yesterday, Krishna promises, make so many promises, so I say, well, test Krishna. Okay, Krishna, you say if I jump off the cliff, you'll catch me? Okay, jump off the cliff, see what happens. And when Krishna catches you, then you'll have faith. Well, what if he doesn't catch me? We'll worry about that later. But first jump off and see if he catches you. And then when you're caught, you build faith. As we were saying the other day on the morning walk, is that actually the devotee's mood is to become a slave. Krishna, I want to be your slave. Just like, throw me off the cliff. So I think it's valuable. Krishna, you said this. If I do this, you'll take care of that. Okay. I'm going to test you. You said it, I'm going to do it. Let's see. I want to see if you're true to your word. And then you do it, and he is. Faith.
But
I got
it sounds
faith
arrogant
points.
when you're saying to Krishna,
Yeah.
I'm going to test you.
Certain kind of rasa.
But if we don't have...
Not exactly like that. I'll say, Krishna, I know what you said is true, but I doubt it, so I have to test myself. But I like saying, well, he said it, so, he said it, so do it. Test him, in a positive sense. Yes? KKGP? No, P, Gopalini, KKGP, DD, KKGP, DD. That's a question, yes.
Yes, I was thinking as we advance, we get more purified, so this purification helps us to be more calm, receive mercy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how do you get mercy? You get mercy in several ways, but it starts with the desire for it. Then you'll pray for it, you might beg for it, you'll act in a way that you deserve it, or that like Prabhupada said, maybe it was Srila Bhakti said, don't act in a way that you'll see Krishna act, that Krishna will see you. So you'll act in ways that Krishna will be happy to fulfill your desire, what's in your heart. Like I was telling that story the other day, I was in Mayapur years ago, not so many years ago, maybe 8. And it was like what Krishna Karshni was asking. I was doing lots of services that I'd like to do. I said, okay, Krishna, no conditions, no strings attached, whatever you want me to do. And I was just chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, anything, I'm ready for anything. Then a half an hour later, Bhakti Caitanya Swami came up to me and said, well, yesterday the GBC were saying that we need you to go to Israel. And I was like, wow, that was fast. And I went to Israel. So, but for so many years before that, I was like, no, I'm just going to do this service. And then I opened up and it's like, okay, now you're going to do this service. So, I think when you're open, Krishna, if you're more willing, then Krishna, is more inclined to give you mercy. And also, if you're trying to do something, you're trying to achieve something. So, like, you ever see a little kid, they're trying to get something and it's like just a few inches above them. So naturally you come and pull it down and give it to them. So, you're trying to jump to the next level and Krishna comes, you're like a little kid. And Krishna just picks you up and goes, yeah. So when he sees you're trying to go higher and you can't do it on your own, then he picks you up. So, all different ways to get mercy. But it starts with the desire for it. And you might say, well, why wouldn't you desire it? Because you're just comfortable where you are and you don't want Krishna to shake you up. We say in English, ruffle your feathers. Prabhu, no. Krishna, please don't ruffle my feathers. Everything's fine the way it is. Can you just leave it like this for them? But a devotee doesn't feel that way because he feels without love of Krishna, it's not fine the way it is. So he always wants more. One of the most interesting things is one time when Thakur Haridas met Lord Caitanya, he said something that's quite amazing. Thakur Haridas, he's chanting all day. 192 rounds, I think. Just meditate on that for a minute. You're having trouble finishing 16? What if at initiation your guru said 192? Or you have to commit suicide. This is inconceivable. But of course, Thakur Haridas, his 192, I think it was self-created. That was his own vow. So, what was my point? I totally lost track. What was the point I was making?
You want to reach something that Krishna...
Oh yeah. So, something that's so amazing. So he's chanting 192 rounds. He's the Namacharya. So you can understand he has a taste, right? You can't chant 192 and sleep an hour and a half and take care of your body for a half hour unless you have a taste. And he prayed to Lord Caitanya. He said, my dear Lord Caitanya, please give me a taste for the holy name. And I read that and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So that shows the hankering of the devotee. Even on that level, they're hankering, please give me. So in that sense, the devotee is never satisfied with where they're at because Krishna consciousness is unlimited and so they're always wanting to go further. Even Thakur Haridas is praying for a taste. That's amazing, isn't it? Hare Krishna.
I've noticed that if someone is like really advanced, as you said, it's amazing that you see that he has the mercy, but he wants more. Some time ago I spoke with Vṛndāvana's family by phone when he had a birthday and I said, what should I wish you? Because you have everything. And he said, you got a success and all of that and you have a mercy. And he said, wish me more mercy, Prabhupada. But I said, you already have it, and he humbly said, no, I'm still hankering for the mercy of Prabhupada.
Because that's the humility of a devotee, that the more you advance, the more you'll be in need, the more you feel you don't have. So Thakur Haridas is praying, give me a taste for the holy name. Prabhu, how was your job? That was fantastic, I was relishing it, it was so good. So when you're down here, you think you have a taste, when you're up here, you think you don't have a taste. And so you're up here hankering, oh, please give me a taste. Why? Because Thakur Haridas maybe for 1 second thought of something. It would only be good for us. So he's only taking away the disease. So that's how we have to see it. Yes?
Devotee should be attached to his or her specific service or just any service. As you mentioned, you are chanting japa and this idea comes when Maharaj came to you and gave service to God to
My answer to your question is he's asking, should you be attached to your service or any service that comes? Well, in that case, it was a temporary service, so I think sometimes a service comes and it's so obvious that Krishna wants it that to deny it wouldn't be good. In other cases, it may be a disruption to your service to do that. Like we said in the workshop, you're going in all different directions. So sometimes you have to be clear about going one direction. It would depend on circumstances. I had this funny, I may have told you this story, it's so interesting. In 1981, there were some things going on in the temple I was in, the zone I was in, that I didn't approve of. And it got to a point where I felt the only way I could deal with it is to get as far away from America as I could. And one of my best friends had gone to South Africa maybe a year or two before, and he would always say, "Oh, it's so great here, why don't you come?" Right? So finally, when things got to this point where I found it difficult to stay, I wrote him a letter. So I want to come to South Africa. And so like a week later, I get a phone call. He said, "Well, I just talked to the GBC here, the GBC in your zone, so we're inviting you to come to South Africa." And I said, "Oh, you got my letter." He said, "What letter?" Isn't that interesting? I was like, okay, Krishna wants me to go to South Africa because it was already arranged, and he never got the letter. So sometimes and sometimes someone has some crazy idea and he wants to, build a Disney World for Krishna, $40 billion, and he wants you to be in charge, and he's all talking, like, I'm not going to give up my service for this. It's, you never even, you couldn't even manage, 3 devotees in a Sankirtan band, and now you want to do this. So, sometimes it's like that. So then Yes.
One year, it was like a burst in Srila Prabhupada disciples, like it started to grow a lot. Why did it happen like such of a sudden?
Why it happened all of a sudden? Because I think the movement was maturing, and I think we kind of hit a threshold of having enough infrastructure, enough people, and enough qualified people that when people would come to temples, a lot of times they wouldn't leave. They'd just come to the temple and like, wow. So it was we were just becoming more enthusiastic, I would say. The level of enthusiasm and clarity in preaching kind of hit a certain point where it just, it was like another level. You know how things go? They start slow, and they hit a certain level. Book distribution was just taking off. And there's just a high level of enthusiasm. The levels were so high that when people would come to the temple, it's hard for them to leave. Seriously. I mean, try to imagine what it must have been like. Someone comes to a temple and he doesn't leave, and he shaves up the next day. That's pretty high level of something, right? Or, they come to the temple, they come back, 3rd, 4th time, then they join. So that would happen quite regularly. We had one boy, I was temple president, he just showed up. Said, "I want to join." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I saw you chanting on the street. It looked like you're having more fun than me." That's exactly what he said. We did a program at someone's house, and everyone in the house moved out of the house into the temple. A week later.
Did you face any problems like due to this big growth?
I think more of the problems in the growth were faced after Prabhupada left. Because we didn't have much of a social structure, because it was basically 1.5 ashrams, mostly brahmachari, brahmacharini, and some grihastas. So we weren't dealing with, at Prabhupada's time, yes, we had a lot of grihastas, and there were some problems, schools and like that. But after Prabhupada left, more people got married, and then there were more social issues. I think also, like in our temples, I think everywhere in the world, temples have people who are not so well adjusted, to not use a bad word, but they have a hard time. But I think in those days, because we were going on Harinam all day, we didn't really notice who was well adjusted and who wasn't, because you just go out and chant all day. And, you do a morning program, you clean the temple, you go out and chant all day, you come back, have a class, go to sleep. So I think it was easier to manage something like that. And then as we got bigger, especially in the late 80s, 90s, it kind of just like, it became a different kind of institution that didn't have an infrastructure to manage it. Still today, that's part of the problem, because it's expanding so fast. Like one devotee told me, there are like 150 temples in India, and that's going to like double in the next like 7 years or something. And he said, we don't have an infrastructure to manage that. It's growing too fast. So the movement's still dealing with it. I was just at a meeting the other day with some GBC and other leaders, and that was the conclusion of the meeting. We're moving faster than the infrastructure can support it. So I think, Krishna consciousness spread so fast that, you had temples that in 1970 had 4 people, in 1975 had 60 people, and they're all living in the temple. So, that was a lot. Should we stop? Yes. So we're going to stop. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll see you tonight at 5:30. Can we have class here, Vaishnav Seva, tonight, 5:30? Yes. Oh, we announced it to be in Gopal's apartment. What is Father? Oh, people are going to go there? You're going to bring them back here?
I mean, we can, it's announced in the WhatsApp, so we can just change the
Yeah, I think it's easier here. So we'll have it here at 5:30, and then after class we'll have kirtan. Also here? Yeah, so we'll need to bring the speaker and everything. So we're going to break Ekadasi. Did you also break Ekadasi? What time is Ekadasi? We're 9:55.
Before.
57. You have till 9:57 to break Ekadasi. So break it.